This is a Mike's Online podcast, episode number 15.
That's, I think, why this is the next step for Excel users, because this skill is so accessible. It's BI for the masses, and it's a natural progression for an Excel user to pick up Power BI.
Welcome to the My Excel Online podcast, the need-to-know Excel insights, knowledge, and tips brought to you by the experts that know them best. Are you ready to explore your full potential and get better at Excel? It's time to stand out from the crowd with your host, John Michailudis.
G'day guys, and welcome to the Mike's Online podcast with your host, John Michailudis. In today's episode, we have an Excel MVP who is an expert in Power BI and Excel dashboards. She started her career as a CIMA qualified accountant and worked in several companies in England before deciding to leave the corporate environment and return back to Australia with her husband. In 2009, she started an online training website called myonlinetraininghub.com, where they provide free and paid online training tutorials and courses on Microsoft Excel, Outlook, and Word. She's trained over 5,000 people from all over the world and has been awarded the prestigious Microsoft MVP Award every year since 2014. Today, she focuses on Excel courses covering Power BI, Excel dashboards, Power Pivot, and Power Query. Let's welcome from sunny Queensland, Australia, Mrs. Minda Tracy. Minda, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, John. I'm well, thank you. How are you?
Good, thank you. It's a pleasure.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you here after a year on there. I think we did a podcast about a year ago and it didn't work out. So We're back again. Take two.
Hopefully, fingers crossed this time it all goes well. So
I think so. So, welcome. And how is the weather in Queensland this time of the year, February 2017? It must be a scorcher, yeah?
It's stinking hot. Actually, we've had heat waves this past week.
Uh-huh.
Thankfully, not as hot here, but Sydney's had over 40 degrees.
Wow.
A few days in a row. So, yeah, it's been air conditioning weather. It's been horrendous. But,
I love it.
It's a small price to pay for paradise, really.
It is, isn't it? And I remember because around this time is my birthday on the 18th of February. So it's 4 days from now. And
happy birthday.
Yeah, thank you. And always around that time, it was always hot. Around February is just always 40 degrees and hot and great weather, great party weather.
Pool party weather.
It is. I miss it. Well, I'll be in Australia this year in May to the Excel Summit as well. So I'll be there to see you in Melbourne. I'm going there in May.
That'll be awesome.
Yeah. So you're there doing some online training as well. Yeah. You're having a speech.
Live training. It'll be my first live training.
Wow. What's the training about?
Look, everything at Excel. I'm doing a dashboard session and a session on conditional formatting and chart tips and tricks, and everything's covered. I think there's 6 different MVPs and everything from Power Query, Power Pivot, Excel, VBA, you name it, it's covered.
Nice. All right. Well, I'll put a link in the show notes to the people there so they can go and see you and meet you in person.
Yeah.
So, or myself, great. I'll be there in the Melbourne event only. So, all right, sweet. Thanks for that. Now, I've told our listeners a little bit about your background. Now, why don't you tell us more about yourself personally and your journey to becoming an Excel expert?
Well, I started out using Excel way back in 1995 when I was in London working as an accountant in investment banks. And then after 8 years in London, my husband Phil and I moved back to Australia. And then we started our website just to share what we knew about Excel. And for the last 3 years, like you mentioned, I was awarded the Microsoft Excel MVP for my contribution to the Excel community, which came about because of our website. But my first introduction to Power BI, which we're going to talk about a lot today, was about 18 months ago when it was launched. And I just knew immediately that I wanted to know all I could about this amazing tool. And that's really what I've been focusing on since. In my pursuit of everything Power BI, I even traveled to Microsoft's Data Insight Summit, which was held in the US last March. I'm currently obsessed with Power BI, but my background and experience started with Excel.
Okay, so when you moved to Australia, why did you want to set up an online business rather than keep on working in the corporate world? Did you have enough of having a boss like I did?
Well, where we moved to there was no corporate sort of environment to go back into. So we were working with small businesses, doing what we knew. My husband's an IT consultant, so he was doing IT support, and I'm an accountant, so I was doing accounting work. But we were both the go-to people for everything, Excel, Word, Outlook. And we just were confronted every day by people's lack of knowledge of the basics. And we just thought, these people need an easy way to learn at least the basics. And, we're in a small business, there's only maybe 5 staff. And so to lose 1 or 2 or even just 1 for a whole day to go off-site and learn the basics or even become more advanced, it's a massive hit to the business. It's expensive, and to lose your receptionist for a day is just not practical. So we really looked at how we could deliver this to people in their place of work, and online was the way to go. So we wanted to really provide that for small businesses, but little did we know how big it would get and how we would reach so many people in every work environment. So it was more than we envisaged, but that was really the motivation, to help those people in small businesses initially.
Yeah, and now your blog and business has grown exponentially. You have about 80,000 subscribers or more?
Yeah, over 80 now.
Wow, that's a lot. That's a lot of people.
I can't really think about when I press that send button on my newsletter each week. It's like, that's a lot of people. So I try not to think about it in case I've made a mistake.
Yeah. No, it's a lot of people. And as you said, since 2009 when you started, we're going on to 10 years. That's great where you're at now. You have Excel, you have Outlook, and you have Word. So you have everything. You're not just Excel related.
That was the idea, to cover those core programs that everyone uses.
Okay, so you have paid and free training, and you have a blog. Just talk just a little bit about, what your website offers for people that haven't been on there.
Yeah, well, our main focus is Excel because that's my passion. So all of the blog and a lot of the free content that's available is all about Excel, but we do have free courses for Excel, Word, and Outlook. That's an opportunity for people that haven't used those programs before to really learn the basics. And also for people who've never tried online training before, they can go on and experience it and see if it's something that they enjoy and if it works for them. We also last year set up a forum so that we can provide support, and we're building a community of other people who help. One of the questions I get asked a lot is, how did you learn so much? How did you build your knowledge? And really, it was helping other people, because they would ask me questions that I wouldn't encounter in my day-to-day work. So it would give me an opportunity to learn something new. And in doing that and helping people, I was learning as well. So the forum is a great place to not only get help, but also an opportunity for other people to practice what they're learning and learn new things by helping other people. And it's one of the things I didn't sort of envisage in starting this was how rewarding it would be to help other people. And really, it's just a dream job, because every day I do Excel and I help so many people. So it's really rewarding.
Yeah, no, it is definitely. And I find myself in that situation as well. Helping people is rewarding, and, doing what you love. Obviously, every day is not happy, and, you go with a smile, but yeah, at the end of the day, when you get an email from someone saying, you've helped me a lot and thank you for that, then, that is what we're here for. So yeah, that definitely is rewarding. Most people think that we are the experts. We know everything. We don't know everything. And as you said, when people challenge us, then we find another solution and we learn along the way. So yeah, we learn and then we pass on the knowledge to everyone out there. So we're all in that, same scenario.
Yeah, it's a journey for all of us.
It is. It's a marathon.
It never ends.
It never ends. It never will be. Well, until Microsoft says, okay, no more updates and that's it. But that won't
I don't
happen.
know if that day will ever come.
Yeah, no, that won't happen. You're an expert in Power BI. Can you tell our listeners, what is Power BI for those people who haven't seen it or haven't heard that word before?
Sure. Well, Power BI is Microsoft's latest business intelligence and data visualization tool, hence the BI for business intelligence. And it enables us to quickly develop these really amazing interactive dashboards, which you can then share with your colleagues on literally any device, even your Apple Watch if you have one. Some people might have heard of Tableau or Qlik, and Power BI is really similar to them, but the difference with Power BI compared to those tools is it's free. for the most part. There is a paid pro license, but really most people will only ever need the free tools. The other really good thing for us Excel users is Power BI uses the same Power Query and Power Pivot tool that we have in Excel. So if you're already familiar with them, then it's pretty quick to get up and running with Power BI.
How do people download this software?
Literally go to powerbi.com. And there's a download link. There's a few different aspects to Power BI, or different components to it. There's a desktop tool, which is free, and that is where most people will do their getting of the data. It's the tool that has Power Query and Power Pivot in it. So they'll get their data with the Power BI desktop tool. They'll clean it and model it with Power Pivot. They'll build their charts and visualizations, and then they can upload them to the powerbi.com service. So that's all web enabled, it's in the cloud, and from there they can share their reports. It's a little bit more complicated than that, and there are some different options. You can use powerbi.com to get your data without using Power BI Desktop, but there's lots of reasons to use one and not the other, and I cover them in my course. I don't want to ramble on and on about it now, but basically go to powerbi.com, download the Power BI Desktop tool, which is free, and sign up for a powerbi.com account. That's basically all you need to do to get started.
Okay. I downloaded that last week. I went onto powerbi.com and downloaded it on my desktop. Literally within a minute or 2 minutes, it downloads. Okay. So let's just quickly go through a couple of features here. Okay. So you have the ribbon, and then you can upload some data from your Excel workbook and upload it. So once you bring it into Power BI Desktop, there's a query editor, which is the same as Power Query, and that allows you to clean your data first, reshape it, get rid of any columns that you don't want, and then bring it into the Power BI desktop. And that from there, you can create your dashboard. So the first step is uploading your data. And, what kind of data can you upload or import into the desktop?
There's 60 different data sources that you can access through Power BI. So basically you open the query, or you use the Power Query tool to get your data. It brings it into the Power Query tool in Power BI, and there, like you said, you can clean it, filter out what you don't need, and then that's then loaded into a Power Pivot model in Power BI. So from there, you can then start visualizing immediately, or if you want to do some more modeling, like you might want to add calculated columns or add some further calculations to your model. And if you know Power Pivot, then you can add some DAX measures and things like that. And then from there, you can start visualizing. So if your data is pretty clean, it's really quick to get going. If you want to merge data from different sources, and like I said, there's 60 different ones, you don't have to, or you can get data from more than one source and then merge it within the Power BI desktop tool and then visualize that data all together in one dashboard. So that's the beauty of it. It can get data from so many different sources, mash it up in one model, and then report on it.
Wow, because you're using the Power Query editor and also the Power Pivot, so you can, consolidate, merge, append, and have relationships as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can have multiple tables with relationships, much like if you've ever used Access or another database tool, then you have relationships between those different tables, which enables you to then report on those different tables from within the one model, just like Power Pivot. If you've ever used Power Pivot before, then it's essentially the same thing.
Yeah.
But in Power BI with the amazing visualizations that are available.
Now, when you bring in the data, on the top right-hand corner here, or on the pane on the right-hand side, it's got visualizations and fields. Now, the fields are your columns in your data. So if you have a month's column, that's a field. So pretty much
just like a pivot table.
Exactly. Now, from those fields, you can drop and drag into. Now, how does that work? The next step, if you can just quickly explain to us the visualizations. Say you want to put in a bar chart. How would you do that?
Pretty easy to create a chart or a visualization, as they're called in Power BI. You simply select the one that you want from the visualizations gallery. So if you want a bar chart, you click on the bar chart icon, and then you can start dragging your fields into the wells, so whichever you want on the axis or the legend. And if you actually don't drag them, if you just check the boxes, Power BI will try and figure out which field should go in which well. It's pretty clever like that. So if you clicked on a field that should be summarized, like a sales field, it would put that in the values area. It would know that you want to aggregate that field. So it's super easy. And if you wanted to change the visualization and thought, oh, maybe you prefer a line chart, you just simply click on the line chart and it will change it for you. It's super point and click kind of easy to do. The bit that gets complicated is there's loads of options. So, that's why a course is often really good, because it's easy to use if you know where to find everything.
Yeah, well, that's with even with pivot tables. It's easy to use once you know where you can find things and what they can do. So, as you said,
exactly, yeah.
If you have an online course, then bang, it teaches you this is what you do, this is what's possible, and how it's done. Now, under visualizations, I'm just going to go through it. It's got a column, it's got a stacked bar chart, it has an area chart, it has a pie chart for people that like pies, scatter chart, it has a field map. So you can actually put a map of the US or Australia. And if you have a column of addresses, then that will plot it in there. And that's super cool. It has a funnel. Yeah. It has all these different stuff. And you can actually use all of them or 3 or 4 different charts onto that page. So you can make your dashboard. That's how you make your dashboard. Once that's done, you can save it and share it with people.
There's also custom visualizations. So on top of the standard ones that come with Power BI, there's open source visualizations that other people have built that you can import into Power BI and use. So it's just growing all the time. I can't remember the last count. I think there was 40 more different custom visualizations that you can use.
Awesome. Yeah. Great stuff. So so all those data nerds out there creating charts for us, and we are using them. Cool. Now, when you save this Power BI file, it's not like an XLS, it's not an Excel extension. What is it?
It's a PBIX file. So you can then save that file like you would an Excel file, and you can share it with other people and they can open the file. They just need to have the Power BI desktop tool installed in their PC. So it's free to download. So you can get your colleagues to also download it and then share the files that way if you want to. Although there's better ways to share your dashboards once you've completed them rather than actually emailing or sharing it on a network drive. But that is an option if you want to do that.
That's very powerful. And say the next day you have new data and it gets updated. How do they refresh it and how does the dashboard get updated?
Okay, so if you've shared a PBIX file, then if you've emailed it to them, and then you have to do it just like you would with an Excel file. You either email them the file, or if it's on a shared drive, then they just go in and it's already updated. But the beauty of Power BI is really that you should publish the PBIX file up to the Power BI service in the cloud. And then people access the dashboard from the web, so they can access it on any device by logging into Power BI themselves. So that way the data is also secure. It's not like publishing it to a web page and then sending someone a URL, although you can do that as well. But with everyone having their own Power BI account, you can then choose who you share it with, and it's secure. So that's really the ideal way to share your reports. But some companies aren't comfortable with publishing their data to the cloud, even though it's secure. Some companies' policies are to not do that. So in that case, there are other options, one of which is to email or place on a network drive the PBIX files.
Nice one. And that's the beauty of it. Everyone has, it was on the same page and they can see where the business is heading, or, can have those meetings and they can share the data all at once. So that's very powerful and good on Microsoft for bringing this out, because it's free and it has a lot of tools and features that, other paid tools, have as well, like Tableau or Qlik.
If you were to compare it to Tableau or Qlik, you're looking at $100,000 investment for those products, at least. Power BI is free. There's a paid service, but to install it, it's free. And to get up and running is free. So that's, I think, why this is the next step for Excel users, because this skill is so accessible. It's BI for the masses, and it's a natural progression for an Excel user to pick up Power BI. And there's nothing stopping them doing it. They don't even have to get a purchase order signed off. They just have to get IT to allow them to install it on their PC, which actually might be more difficult than getting a purchase order signed off. But,
Exactly.
Cool.
Yeah, it's free and it's good. And look, you don't need to learn any new formulas or anything like that. It's, drag and drop. It's pretty easy in that way, isn't it?
Yeah, look, if your data's pretty clean and you don't need to do a lot of calculations on it, then you don't need to learn the more complicated parts of Power BI. But if you need to add calculations, then you need to learn the DAX, the Power Pivot DAX formula language. That I cover in my course as well. But if you already know Power Pivot and you know Power Query from Excel, then Power BI is going to be pretty quick to get going with because you already know those core parts of the system.
Yeah, that's right. So it's a natural step up. Whoa, awesome stuff. Thanks for that. I'm sure that our listeners have got a better idea now of the possibilities within Power BI desktop and the server. So thanks for that. Now, in what situations would people use Power BI?
Well, it's basically a reporting tool. So if you're currently preparing reports or dashboards in Excel, then like I said, Power BI is a natural progression for the Excel user. It's really good at getting data from your external systems like SQL databases and Excel files or CSV and text files. Like I said before, there's 60 different data sources that you can connect to using the built-in Power Query tool. And the other thing that it can do much better than Excel is handle big data and then reporting on data that comes from multiple sources. So if you're familiar with Power Pivot, you know that Power Pivot can handle millions of rows of data. Well, so can Power BI. And then Power BI is really easy to build amazing visualizations and then save them and publish them to the Power BI service where you can then share them with everyone, but securely. And that's really quite difficult with Excel right now, is sharing your reports online in Excel is not nearly as easy as it is with Power BI.
A lot of benefits there. Thanks for that. Now, people that use the normal dashboards within Excel environment and formulas and pivot tables, why would they use Power BI rather than doing an Excel dashboard? Is it for different kind of people or different job roles?
I think if you do reporting, then Power BI is going to appeal to you. There might be different reasons for you wanting to use Power BI. For example, someone might really love Power BI because it allows interactivity that you can't create so easily with Excel. So for example, in Power BI, I can click on a column and all of the charts on the page will filter based on the column that I clicked on. The other thing I can do is drill down. So I can click on a column or there's an icon to drill down into a chart and see the next level of data below that. So if my chart's summarized at quarter level, I can drill down and see the month level, and I can drill down again and see the day level. And that interactivity we just don't have in Excel. And we could probably write some pretty complex VBA, but we can build this without having to know VBA. So the functionality is there and it's easy to use. So someone might want to use Power BI because it has the functionality that Excel doesn't have. But also the next person might want to use Power BI because they want to be able to share their reports with other people, and they might want to tailor the view of the data to the person who is receiving the report. For example, someone might have regional managers. They might want to then just create one set of the data and one report, but when the regional manager for the US opens his view of the report, he only sees the US data. And then when the UK manager sees his region, he just sees UK data. He doesn't see all the US data and the Europe data. And we can do that in Power BI. So as a dashboard creator, I can create one report. I can then distribute that to my regional managers. They can open it in Power BI and it automatically filters to only show them their data. So all of a sudden my workload's been cut down by, say I've got 10 regions, now I only have to do one report instead of 10. In the Excel days, you'd have to do 10. You'd have to clear out all the data. If it was sensitive and you didn't want them to see it, you'd have to cut that data up into 10 separate files. You'd have to email them or however you share them. So, it's horses for courses. Power BI has loads of functionality. What appeals to one person might be a different reason for the next person wanting to use it, or maybe they want to use it for both reasons. It's just an amazing tool. There's so many cool features. Another one I'm just looking at the moment is the animated chart. So in Power BI we have a play axis, and that means that I can plot my data over time and then click the play button and I can watch it change. It plays me like a movie of my data changing over time. And I literally drag a field into a well and it's done. I don't have to code anything.
Yeah.
It's so easy to use once you know how to use it, you know what I mean? But it's really drag and drop kind of easy, like you were saying before.
Wow, that's cool. That is cool. I reckon if someone can show a report within Power BI to the management team, then man, they're gonna be indispensable. They're gonna think, okay, this guy or girl knows their stuff. Because
Absolutely.
It's just mind blowing that, what you can do, drag and drop, what you can do. If you know Power BI, then, you'll have a job for life. That's for sure. Now, what's the coolest thing you've seen done with Power BI?
There's two things that you really need to sit down to see. And thankfully we sit at desks, so it's all good. But, the first one is it can run an algorithm on your data, and then it will return you a load of charts that highlight insights that it's found into your data that you might not be aware of. It finds things like outliers or correlations, trends, even seasonality, and then it gives you all these different charts that point out things you might not have realized. And it's really great if you're not familiar with the data set, because it gives you a load of information about the data with absolutely zero effort.
Wow.
And if you like any of the insights that it finds, then you can say, yes, I'll have that chart on my dashboard. Thank you very much. And I've done zero work to have it. But you can also say, well, that looks interesting. Let's drill down on that data and let's find out why there's an anomaly there or why there's an outlier. And so you can start discovering things that you would never have known necessarily or never have discovered on your own. So that's called Quick Insight. And the other feature that is amazing is Q&A. So this allows you to ask questions of your data using your natural language. So, for example, you could say, Power BI, what are the sales by region? And it will go away and search your data set and come back with an answer, either in the form of a chart or a table, and it will choose the best visualization for the response. And then from there, you can further refine your question, or you can say, well, that looks good, I'll have that chart on my dashboard as well, and you can just pin it to your dashboard. Or you can drill down further into the data and apply filters and different things. So they're two just incredible tools. With literally no knowledge, I can just ask it a question in plain English and it will answer me. A bit like Siri, I suppose.
Yeah.
Siri for Power BI. But it's only looking at your database. It doesn't go out to the web and search Google or anything like that. It's just answering your question based on what's in your Power BI model. So, that's Q&A. They're just incredible things for free.
Well, who needs Excel after you have Q&A? Because you can ask a question, it gives you the answer. You don't need to go digging it up with formulas or pivot tables.
Exactly.
Wow, that's the future, isn't it? Where do you see this in 10 years' time?
Gosh, that's really difficult. I don't know. Power BI is being updated every month. Mm-hmm. Every month there's new features. Big data and the Internet of Things becoming more and more normal. Maybe we'll be able to handle billions of rows of data, and we might sit on our sofa with an augmented reality headset like the HoloLens and just swipe gestures and speak at it.
That's what I see. Great answer. That's great. I see that as well. I don't see people using Excel. I see people using Power BI.
I think Excel will be around for a long time.
It will be around, but Power BI maybe just take over in terms of visualization and analysis.
Oh, yeah. I think this is the future. It's certainly where Microsoft see visualization heading, although charts will always be in Excel, and they're improving the Excel charting engine, and that's still progressing forward. This is really a more specialist tool, but I think it will become more normal to use. But people will still want to put charts in Excel. There's a lot more effort required to create a Power BI report than there is an Excel chart.
As you said, horse for courses depends on your role, right? If you're a reporting analyst, then obviously Power BI. But if you're an accountant, then Excel is what you're going to be using, aren't you?
You'll always have a need for Excel. So Excel's not dead, John. Don't kill it off.
No, I'm not going to kill it off. I'm just imagining a world without Excel.
No. Oh, I hope I'm retired then.
Oh, man. Nice one. All right. Thank you for that. Now, let's take a short break and we'll be back with your Power BI course and your favorite Excel tips.
Can you analyze this spreadsheet using Excel pivot tables?
Sure, if you can show me how to.
Introducing the Extreme Pivot Table online course, which teaches you how to analyze business data and highlight key metrics so that you can make insightful business decisions, create interactive analytical dashboards that will reach top management, and set you apart from your peers, which will make you more important and increase your chances of a promotion or pay rise. Developed over 15 years through extensive professional use and including real business case studies, it is the ultimate pivot table course. With over 200 short downloadable video tutorials accessible online anywhere 24/7, 12-month personal support if you ever get stuck, and a 30-day money-back guarantee. Visit myexcelonline.com today and give your professional development the boost it deserves.
We are back with Minda's Power BI course, and she's just released her latest and greatest course. It is about Power BI. Now, Minda, you've created courses on dashboards, on Power Query, Power Pivot, and now Power BI. Why did you decide to create it?
Well, it's so new, and initially I didn't dive straight in and try and create a course on it because it was just evolving so quickly, and it still is evolving really quickly, but the core of it is there now, and hopefully it doesn't change that much, or I'll never stop working on it, which I probably won't anyway, but it's not changing as rapidly. I've trained so many people in how to build dashboards in Excel, and I get these success stories from my members about how those skills have opened up opportunities. And like I said to you before, I think Power BI is just the next must-have skill for Excel users to add to their resume. And I'm going to reiterate, it's not going to replace Excel, but Power BI has features that we can only dream about in Excel, like the drilling down on the charts and the clicking on one column in one chart and having all the charts in the dashboard filter based on that one click, and the play axis to animate how data changes over time. And don't get me wrong, there's a learning curve like we talked about because Power BI is so vast with lots of functionality, which is what makes it awesome. But it also means there's a lot to learn, and some people can find this really overwhelming and not know where to start. And so I wanted to take the overwhelm out of the questions so they could follow a logical path and get up and running with Power BI really quickly, because it's so exciting what we can do now, and it's so available to everyone because it's free. So I really wanted to spread the word about it and get people up and running quickly.
I'm sure, people are going to get lots of value from this course as they have with the other courses. Just like anything within Excel, any feature, you can go the easy route, YouTube, learn that way. You'll be taken into a rabbit hole, and instead of learning Excel, you'll be learning something else. Or you can do paid training and, have the structure in place. So online courses are the way to go. So, Can you also tell our listeners what they can expect from this course, the different modules that are within your Power BI course?
With this course, I've approached things a little differently. I realize that people want to get up to speed fast, and that's always been my motivation with my other courses. But with this one, the first module is Quick Start. So in that module, it's just under 40 minutes, and by the end of it, you can start building dashboards using the Power BI service. So I wanted to give you a taste of what you can do. I wanted to give you the ability to go and try it and have some success with it. And then we come back to the Power BI desktop side of things. So that's where we get and transform the data using Power Query. And then we look at modeling with Power BI using the Power Pivot module. And then we look at Power BI desktop visualizations. And that's probably the biggest section of the course because there's so many of them and so many little features you can tweak. And then we go on to looking at visualizations in the Power BI service, because there are some features we can only do once we publish our dashboards to the Power BI service in the cloud. Then we cover publishing and sharing and all the different options there. And then we look at refreshing, because once you create your report, then next month or next week, you're going to want to refresh it. And thankfully, it's really easy, but there are lots of different options depending on where your data came from and where it is now. And then lastly, we look at Power BI and Excel together, because Microsoft's motto is Power BI and Excel are better together. So we look at how we can use Excel with Power BI, and there's a free add-in for Excel to publish Excel charts and tables and various elements to Power BI as well. So that's the last module. And my teaching style is really to the point. So I don't waste time waffling on. At the end of the day, I realize that what you really want when you're learning something new is actually just to be able to do it right now. So the learning part is a necessary means to an end, and I just want to get you to that end result as quickly as possible. And also because I'm an Excel user, I'm aiming this Power BI course at fellow Excel users. You don't need any prior database knowledge or BI experience to take my Power BI course.
So any beginner can take the course, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We go from zero to the very end. The Power BI course is standalone. If you know Power Query and Power Pivot, then you just need to take my Power BI course. If you don't know Power Query and Power Pivot, then I recommend that you bundle those courses in with the Power BI course, and I have some special deals, bundle discounts, so that if you need to add either of those or both of them, then you can get them in a bundle discount. And the bonus with that is once you know Power Query and Power Pivot for Power BI, you know it for Excel as well. So they're the same, virtually identical in both programs. So it's a double bonus to learn those skills because you can use them in either program. And the other thing I really want to mention is quite a few users don't have access to Power Pivot, and quite a few don't have Power Query yet, particularly if you're in Excel 2007, you don't have either of these tools. And the only way to get them is to upgrade. And we know a lot of companies are slow to upgrade, but the great thing is Power BI Desktop has Power Query and Power Pivot inside of it, and it's free. So if you're in Excel 2007, then Power BI is an opportunity for you to learn those skills so that when your company does eventually update their version of Excel, you'll be the go-to guy or girl for those programs. And you're going to be at such an advantage.
Wow. I mean, I didn't even think about that. You're right. You're right. If you don't have 2010 or 2013 or 2016, you can use Power BI Desktop to get access to Power Query. That's awesome.
Even some of even Power Pivot isn't available in every version of Excel from 2013 onwards. So there's a lot of people that don't have Excel Professional or Pro Plus, the Office 365 Pro Plus, in order to have Power Pivot. So this is another way to access the Power Pivot tool, learn those skills so you're ready when they do eventually upgrade.
Whew, of course. Wow. So that just, gives every user a chance to learn Power Query and Power Pivot and see the power, and then within that, and then say, hey, let's go upgrade. So because I get a lot of questions, I've got 2007 and, I don't have these, or 2010 or 2016, I don't have the pro version. Well, Power BI Desktop, you can. And via this course, you will learn this straight away. You'll learn this straight away. All right. Now, how can people access the course? What do you, we're recording this in February the 14th. Today's Valentine's Day. What do you have for people to access the course?
Well, the course is available now. So if they go to our website, they can find a link to the Power BI course under the pricing menu. But at the moment, for the next until the 23rd of February, I'm actually running some free webinars where I show how to build 2 dashboards in under an hour. And in those webinars, I only use the Power BI features that are free. So this is really for everyone, and I guarantee you'll be amazed. And the other thing is, if you then want to continue on and learn Power BI, then my Power BI and Excel dashboard courses are currently 20% off. So if they join by the 23rd of February, then they'll get the 20% off, and there's no promo code required. The prices are already discounted. So grab a seat in the webinars, and then from there you can explore the Power BI course options and Power Query and Power Pivot and Excel dashboards. Some people might watch the Power BI webinar and go, well, I'm not sure I'm ready for that. I don't even know pivot tables yet. Do you know what I mean? There'll be loads of people out there in that situation. And for them, then I recommend my Excel dashboard course, because that is for those people who maybe aren't quite ready for Power BI it's going to give them an opportunity to master their Excel skills. And a lot of what I teach in my dashboard course, as you know, applies to just everyday Excel work. And that's one of the main feedback points I get is, I'm using this stuff you taught me in your Excel dashboard course every day, just in everything I do. So that's a great starting point for people who feel that Power BI is maybe a bit too much power. So, yeah.
There's both ways you can go about it, and you cover all those. You have all those courses for the different needs of the people. So go to myonlinetraininghub.com and have a look there. You'll get the webinars and have a look at the special discounted offer. Now, if you're listening to this in the future, then you can always go back to Minda's website and how many times do you have this course? Do you open this course?
I'm aiming probably for 3 or 4 times a year. So I only open it up periodically, and my Excel dashboard course periodically, because I'm personally going to provide support to my members. And I set aside the first 6 weeks of their 12-month membership to really be available to them. So I'm going to answer questions quickly and make sure I keep up with your momentum. I don't want to slow you down. But after those 6 weeks, I'll still support everyone. But, I'm going to take time. Maybe I'll be on vacation, or I might be busy working on something else. So during those remaining months of their membership, I might take a few days to reply sometimes because I might be away.
So the course will be open a few times a year, so you can, check back on myonlinetraininghub.com and see when the course is available. Power BI and dashboard course is open only a few times a year. Or other courses that Minda has, like the Power Query, the Power Pivot, the Pivot Table course, and everything else is available 24/7 every day of the year. So if you're listening in the future, just go back on the show notes, on the podcast show notes, or Minda's website to see when the course will reopen. All right, Minda, thank you for that. It's going to be a great course. And I think that's probably, you're one of the first people that has an in-depth course on Power BI. So you guys out there should definitely go check it out. And it's money well spent. So, now you can find all the links to this course by visiting the show notes on myexcelonline.com/podcast. Now let's go into our next topic. Let's talk about your Excel favorites. You're an Excel MVP. You've used Excel for all your life. Now tell our listeners out there, what's your favorite keyboard shortcut?
Oh, we're giving away my secrets.
Yes.
The F4 key is my favorite, and I like it because it's doubly handy. We can use it to repeat an action. Like I like to use it when I'm formatting charts or pasting something in. If I want to repeat some formatting, I just press the F4 key and it repeats it. The other use is that we can set the absolute references in formulas by toggling through the F4 key. And that's just a quick way to set absolute references in formulas. Is the only way I ever do it.
Nice one. Great shortcut. All right. Now, what's your favorite Excel tip?
I'm going to be really boring and say Alt and Enter. It forces a carriage return in a cell. And in my accounting days, I used to create a lot of reports. So applying the wrap text format is fine. But if you want to force text to wrap at a certain point, then Alt and Enter is my secret weapon. Before Alt and Enter, I used to just add loads of spaces between the words to get the wrapping to go down onto the next line. But if you ever adjusted a column, then you'd have to go and change the number of spaces. And so when I discovered Alt and Enter, I remember some of my colleagues at work in London were like, how do you get that to go down onto the next line? And they'd call me over and I go, I'll cost you a cup of tea. So Alt and Enter is my favorite.
Yeah, and you can use that within formulas as well, just so you can separate the formulas. If you have a big formula which is nested,
nested formulas.
Yeah, Alt and Enter, just so you can break it up and just to make more sense of a long formula. So great tip. All right, what's your favorite function and why?
Oh, VLOOKUP. It's got a special place in my heart.
Yeah.
Not because it's the best function. Everyone knows, well, not everyone, but a lot of people will be going, index and match are better than VLOOKUP. And they're right. It's more versatile. But for me, VLOOKUP is a rite of passage to discovering just how powerful Excel can be. And I remember when I first learned VLOOKUP and how amazed I was at what I could do with it. And it really gave me the impetus to learn more functions. I call it the kickstart function. It's like everyone needs to learn VLOOKUP. When they see how great it is, they'll want to learn more functions and formulas. So VLOOKUP's my favorite for that reason.
Nice one. Thank you very much. What's one Excel add-in that you constantly use and love?
I don't use many add-ins, but one that I found is John Akampora's Paste Buddy for the Paste Special Values shortcut. I love that.
Apart from your blog, what's another great online resource for people to learn Excel from?
It's really difficult to narrow it down, isn't it? Because, they all specialize in a different topic. For example, I like Peltier Tech for charting and Contextures, or your website for pivot tables, and Excel Guru for Power Query. And I could go on, but it'd be like the Oscars or acceptance speech. I'll leave someone out and then they'll be complaining. So I'm going to stop at that. But there's loads.
All right. I'll put a link there of all the great ones in the show notes. You can go and discover the different expertise of each Excel expert that's out there. All right. If you could recommend one Excel book for our listeners, what would it be?
You might think this is really strange, but I don't read many books on Excel. But that said, at the past MVP summits that I've been to, some of my fellow MVPs have given me their books, and I have read them. One of my favorites is Excel Tables by Zach Breese and Kevin Jones. I just think everyone needs to know Excel tables. Bob Umlas has written a couple full of tips. One is called Excel Outside the Box, and this is an Excel, it's magic. And I really like those because they're kind of short. You can flick to a random page. If you're waiting for something on your PC, I'll grab it and flick to a random page and read a tip. For Power Query, Kempel's and Miguel Escobar's book, M is the Data Monkey, is excellent. And Jordan gave me his Dashboards for Excel book that he wrote with Chandu. I have to admit, I haven't read all of that. It's quite big. So, that's really all I have.
Yeah, they're nice books. Yeah, look, I have plenty of books as well, but you have them there as a reference guide. Say, you're struggling with something, you can just go grab it and have a look at something. You need a formula or a table or VBA, you have it there. So it's not like a romantic story. It's a reference guide, isn't it?
Not bedtime reading.
No, it's a reference guide to help you within your work or when you get stuck. So, all right. Now you can find the links to this book and everything we've been chatting about today, including tutorials on Aminda's favorite shortcuts and tips by visiting myexcelonline.com/podcast. Okay, Minda, let's end the show with an Excel learning scenario. Now, let's say that I'm an Excel beginner or intermediate user, and I need to learn the most important features of Excel within 7 days because I've got an important job interview that I'm going to go for. With all the Excel knowledge that you know today and the online and offline resources available, what would be the quickest way for me to start learning Excel?
Well, without a doubt, the quickest way is to do an online course because you don't have to go anywhere. And often it's quicker to digest stuff that you see as opposed to reading. Now, I've had people call me at 4 a.m. because they couldn't stop watching my videos, or not call me, but email me at 4 a.m. Thankfully, not call me. I'm not recommending everyone does that, but online courses allow you that flexibility, complete the training at your own pace. But the key with any learning journey is practice, and it's the same with Excel, because I think with practice you get not only retain the knowledge but you become more confident, and I think that's really important with interviews, especially Excel interviews these days. They often make you do a test or ask you a question, and so it's really good to be prepared, and practice is the key to that.
Or for me, it's the quickest way. Online learning, small price to pay to get a pay rise or a new job. So people should focus on that. All right. Now, there's a lot of Excel features, pivot tables, Power Query, Power BI, Power Pivot, lots of stuff. I'm not going to stop there. What's the best Excel feature that, someone going in this interview should focus on?
Yeah, well, a beginner to intermediate user, if they're an absolute beginner, I'm going to assume they grasp the whole rows and columns and cells concept pretty quickly. So the next thing is formulas, and then closely followed by pivot tables. I think a lot of people are scared of pivot tables, but really you can't break them. And once you get it, once that light bulb moment happens, they're really quite easy. So they're my two key features they should focus on.
Yeah, pivot tables are great. And you have a course on pivot tables as well, don't you?
We do. Well, by yourself, John. It's brilliant.
Shameless plug. Yeah, good stuff. All right, thank you for that. Thank you. Yeah, great answers. They're great answers, and our listeners definitely appreciate it. All right, before we go, what's the best way for our listeners to connect with you, Minda?
Well, they can pop over to our website, myonlinetraininghub.com. We have a weekly newsletter, so they can sign up for that. They can email me at website@myonlinetraininghub.com. We've got our forum, so if they have some Excel questions, they can find a link to the forum on our website in the menu at the top. We're also on Twitter @onlinetraining. We couldn't fit in the hub. And our Facebook page as well is My Online Training Hub. So, yeah, whatever takes their fancy, we're out there.
So all you guys out there, go and connect with Minda. Go on her website. And I'm going to tell you, she has the most popular website in the world. 80,000 members is not a small feat. 80,000 subscribers and more. She's the number one in Excel. So that's a reason why, she's got a great website, great content, a lot of great courses. So yeah, if you need to learn Excel or Office, that's your starting point. And Minda is an expert and a great teacher. So Minda, thank you very much. Thank you for sharing your knowledge on Power BI and everything Excel today. And yeah, hopefully we'll get you in the future when you bring out your latest and greatest course.
Well, thank you, John. It's been a pleasure and honor to be on the podcast.
Thank you very much. And we'll speak soon. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed this podcast show. Thank you for listening. Now, I need your help. I need you to please leave an honest review for the My Excel Online podcast on iTunes. Now, ratings and reviews are extremely helpful and greatly appreciated, and I read each and every one of them. So if you go onto iTunes and search for the My Excel Online podcast, you can leave a review and also subscribe so you can receive all the new episodes as soon as they come out. Also, if you go over to my blog at myexcelonline.com/blog, you can subscribe to receive weekly Excel lessons for free. Now, these are going to be delivered to your inbox each and every Friday, containing a lesson on formulas, pivot tables, charts, and analysis. By signing up, you also get a copy of my free Excel ebook called The Ultimate Excel Resource Guide. Now, in this ebook, I show you and review the best Excel blogs, the best Excel YouTube channels, the must-have Excel forums for you to succeed. I handpick and review the best Excel online courses. I show you the various Excel books that are available. And I also explain the different time-saving add-ins that you must have in order to get the full potential out of Excel. Plus, I have much more information. Now, this ebook is jam-packed full of value and it's free if you sign up to my weekly Excel lessons. So go over onto my Excel blog and subscribe to receive your free ebook and also get your awesome weekly lessons. All right, until the next episode, keep excelling.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the My Excel Online podcast. Be sure to subscribe and share this with your colleagues so they can reach their full Excel potential. You can also visit myexcelonline.com/podcast for show notes as well as John's online Excel courses and free tutorials to help you stand out from the crowd. Until next time, keep excelling.